There are going to be times that as you plan your templates, you may have elements on the page that, although they have certain attributes which change from page to page, the entire element itself stays the same. This could be the source of an image or the destination of a link, things like that. Well, in these cases, instead of making the whole element an editable region, you can simply make the attribute itself editable. Take our template. We need to be able to control our navigation and breadcrumbs through the template itself. To indicate the current page in our navigation, we'll assign the class current to the link. To adjust the page layout in the event of a page needing breadcrumbs, we assign the class hasCrumbs to the body tag. By simply making those attributes editable, we can change the entire complexion of the page through simply assigning those classes. We're not limited to class attributes either. Link sources, image alt tags, image sources, element IDs, really any attribute can be identified as an editable attribute within your templates. So I've had the main underscore template.dwt that we were working on in the last exercise open, and I have found this in the 1303 templates folder. So I'm going to start by assigning some editable attributes, and probably the first place to start would be the body tag. Now you'll notice if I look down at my tag selector, the body tag has a class called hasCrumbs. And I'm going to switch over to code view and show you that a little bit more clearly. So our body tag has a class called hasCrumbs. Now what does that do for us? Well, in the event that our page has breadcrumbs, we don't need as much spacing between the breadcrumb and the page heading. When a page has no breadcrumbs, we need to make sure that that space remains empty so that our page headings and the content doesn't move up the page whenever breadcrumbs are not found. So essentially, hasCrumbs simply modifies the space between the heading and the element above it. That way, we ensure consistent spacing whether a page has breadcrumbs or not. So it's really important when we create new pages off this template that we're able to differentiate between pages that have crumbs and pages that don't. By making this hasCrumbs class editable, when we create a new page, we can simply tell Dreamweaver, make the class either this or this, and the layout will adjust. So to make an editable attribute, you simply select the element that contains the attribute in question. In this case, I'm going to go down to my tag selector and again click on that body tag. So just click on that once and make sure you have that selected. Next, I'm going to go up to my menu. Now, when we created editable regions, they were found in the Insert menu, but editable attributes are actually found under the Modify menu. I don't know why. Just go up to your menu, select Modify, go down to Templates, and you want to choose Make Attribute Editable. Perhaps that's it. We're modifying this particular tag. So as soon as you do that, you'll notice that it's saying choose which attribute of the body tag should be editable. That's a nice indicator of what element you have selected. And if you see something there that you didn't expect, if it said a div tag or a link tag, then we've selected the wrong one and you should hit cancel and try it again. So let's make sure that says the body tag. And the attribute that we're going to make editable is class. Although if you notice, you grab the pull down menu, if we had other attributes on the body tag, such as an ID or any of the other attributes that the body tag could have, they would all be listed here. Only the ones that you have set are going to be listed. So I'm going to make sure it says class. Then I'm going to choose Make Attribute Editable. So I can give this a label, and you might be tempted to just go ahead and leave it as class. But later on, when we're creating pages off of this, we're going to go up and modify our template properties, and we're going to get a full listing of these. And if we have 15 classes listed, we won't know what they are. So we're just going to call this one Body Class, all one word. That way we know exactly which one we're modifying. Now, one of the coolest things about editable attributes is the type pull-down menu. Notice that we can choose between text, URLs, color, true, false, or Boolean value, and number. The thing that I love about this is that let's say you're taking an image and you're making the source of that image editable. If you choose URL, when you go in to modify the image properties, Dreamweaver will give you a little browse icon and you can browse for an image. If you say color, it's going to give you your swatch panel as you assign a value to it. So that's really, really cool. By saying text, you're just saying, let me type in a textual value. And for classes, that's all we really need. Now, I'm just going to leave the default as hasCrumbs, but I could really put anything I wanted here. So if the overwhelming majority of my site was not going to have crumbs, I could probably just change this to say no crumbs. And then when prompted when creating the page, I could simply type in and change it to hasCrumbs. But as it is, I'll just leave the default as hasCrumbs. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And there is our first editable attribute. Now, if you look down at the body tag right now, you're going to see some pretty confusing code. Well, that's what we call a template expression. And essentially, in the code, what Dreamweaver has done is it's created a parameter. Let me show you what I mean. I'm going to switch over to Code View, and I can see right here on line 10, up in the head of my document, I now have a comment tag that is essentially Dreamweaver establishing a template parameter. Its name is body class, its type is text, and its value is has crumbs. If you wanted to, and you understood the syntax of that, you could just create these all on your own. In the body class itself, we have what is known as a template expression. This template expression evaluates, and notice that it's looking for the value of body class, so it's going to go up here and find that value and plug it in to that particular spot. So those can be hand-coded if you want, although I think they're a lot easier to do through the interface. Okay, let's go ahead and save our template. And now we need to move on to the big section, which is our links. Earlier, when we created our template, we clicked inside each one of these links, and we added this base link class. When we create a page, we're going to have the option of replacing base link with current. Current would indicate that this is the current page, and our CSS would modify our link so that it displayed properly. As it is, base link has really no styling attached to it at all, so leaving it there means nothing's going to change. That's an important step. Even though that base link is sort of a dummy class and doesn't really do anything for us, it allows us to have a value that we can replace. So you always want that, because if you don't already have something in there, so you at least have to have a default value in there to replace. Okay, so now we have to go through each one of these and create an editable attribute. Again, this is a little bit of work on the front end, but it's really going to pay off when we start creating our pages based on these. So I'm going to click inside Tours, and then using the tag selector, I'm going to click on the link A Tours Base Link. Once again, I'm going to go to Modify, Templates, Make Attribute Editable. So here you can see we have more choices. Our link also includes an href attribute and a title attribute. Well, we want to make the class attribute editable, so I'm going to go ahead and select that. Again, I'm going to click the checkbox, Make Attribute Editable, and remember, we have to come up with a unique name for that we'll recognize later on when we're creating pages based off of this. I'm just going to call this one Tours Link. Its type is going to be text, and I'm going to leave the default alone. I'm not going to touch that or modify that in any way. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Now, it's going to appear that that deleted the link. It didn't. What it did is it replaced the current class contents with a template expression. Our CSS was using that to determine which graphic to display, so in essence, it's not showing a graphic. That's okay, because when we create a new page based off the template, that template expression will be replaced by the actual classes, so we'll be fine. All right, now all that's left for us to do is to go through each link and in turn create editable attributes. So click inside All Tours, and once again, go down to the tag selector and click on the A tag for that particular link. And we're going to go up to Modify, Templates, Make Attribute Editable. Once again, we're going to do the class. We're going to make that editable. And we're just going to come up with a consistent naming convention here. I'm going to type in Tours Sub to indicate it's part of the subnav, all, because those are all tours. So Tours Sub All, one word. I'm going to leave it text, and I'll leave the default alone. As a matter of fact, we won't change that for any of the links that we're going to be working with. Now, Dreamweaver has a habit of jumping back up to the very top of the page when it finishes with this. It almost makes it easier to go all the way down to the bottom of your navigation and start from the bottom and work your way down. But just keep in mind which one you did last. So I'll do Tours by Activity next. Again, I'm going to click my tag selector and choose the link, Modify, Templates, Make Attribute Editable. We'll make the class attribute editable, and this one is going to be Tours Sub Activity. Next will be region, so go ahead and select that one the same way that we've selected all the other ones. You want to go to Modify Template, Make Attribute Editable. We're going to do class, and this one is going to be Tours Sub Region. Select the Tour Finder one. Modify Template, Make Attribute Editable. Class, make it editable, and this one is going to be Tours Sub Finder. Click on Mission, and again, I'm going to select the A tag, Modify, Templates, Make Attribute Editable, Class, and we're just going to call this one Mission Link. Again, I'm going to leave the defaults alone and click OK. And again, if we do it right, it'll disappear. Select the contact link, Modify Template, Make Attribute Editable. You can see if you're going to do a whole lot of this in your workflow, you may want to go ahead and map out a keyboard shortcut to this. That could certainly help. This one will be labeled Contact Link. And again, verify each time out that you're making the class attribute editable, not href or the title attribute. Click OK, and just keep going. So next we'll do resources, templates, make attribute editable, class, and we're going to call this one resource link. And we just have to go through them one at a time. Unfortunately, there's no shortcuts for this. And you probably won't have this many attributes each time out. So for this one, we're going to call this one resource sub FAQ. Again, leave the default alone. And we're just going to keep going. So with each link, just go and select it and make sure you're modifying the class. This one will be resource sub terms. Modify, templates, make attribute editable, class, resource sub, I'll just say add for additional. As long as you know what that name is going to reference later on, then you can name it anything you want. My advice, however, is sometimes when you're doing something like this, you'll say to yourself, oh, I'll remember what that is, but you really want to be descriptive because a month from now, really? Maybe, maybe not. So this one, we'll do resource sub privacy. And we are indeed getting there. We're making progress. Modify templates, make attribute editable, again, class. And we're going to make this one explore link. And then all that's left to do is the sub navigation here. So templates, make attribute editable. We're going to do explore sub join. Notice again, we're not modifying those defaults at all. This is why we went in and placed the base link in there to begin with so that we didn't have to do it at this stage. Make attribute editable, class. That one is going to be explore sub blog. And then two more. Thanks for hanging in there with me. And this one is explore sub photos. And then finally, we'll do our last one. And that's going to be explore sub video. Okay. Save your file, and now we have our editable regions. Now, I know that took a while to do, but it really showcases that when you make templates, sometimes there's going to be a little bit of drudgery involved. The good news is, though, this work is designed to save us a ton of work on the back end. So by going ahead and putting in the extra work as you're building your templates, you're going to make your life easier as you develop your site and certainly as you maintain your site later on. So we have two editable regions for the main content of the page. Our navigation is customizable based on which section of the site we're working on. And our body tag has a class attribute that can be changed to modify the layout for whether we have crumbs on our page or no breadcrumbs. We still have one thing to tackle before we start building pages off of this template. Our sub-navigation and breadcrumbs won't be needed on all of our pages. As such, we're going to make them optional regions so that we only add them to the pages as needed, and we're going to tackle that in our next movie.